Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to Two Qs with Lisa Ward. I'm your advisor with Chapelwood Financial Services. And today our guest is Dana Gibbs. So go ahead and share a little bit about yourself.
Hi, yeah, thank you for having me. This is a lot of fun. So I am an ENT doctor, now a retired ENT doctor.
Woohoo!
I was in practice for 20 something years, I forget now. Um, and 2 years ago, I decided that I was done with that and that I had a mission and wanted to do something else. And so I resigned from my group practice that I was in and started a new practice called Consultants in Metabolism. It's kind of a weird name, but what I do is focus on thyroid and hormone problems that are considered kind of squishy and not legit by mainstream medicine that doesn't actually have time to take care of those anymore. So that's what I do.
I love that you call it squishy medicine.
Well, crunchy is another word that people use.
Yes, yeah, that's more mainstream. That's more of a hot word that we would hear.
Yeah.
Well, fantastic, and congrats on this new chapter. But I'm gonna go ahead and ask the first question that I ask everyone, which is, what do you want that you don't already have?
Right. Okay. So I can answer this so many different ways, but I think I'm going to start with the impact first because it's kind of the reason I'm doing what I'm doing, which is when I was young, teens to early 30s, I was tired. I was tired all the time. I mean, I was tired to the point that I didn't think I could be a doctor because I knew it was hard. I knew that there were long hours and that the studying was really intense. I knew that it was going to be like that. And so when I went to college, I did not even major in pre-med. I was just like, I can't do this. I need to go to somewhere where I can have a 9 to 5 job. And so I majored in chemical engineering. I thought I wanted to be a chemical engineer. I liked
Wow.
science. I liked science. I knew I didn't really want to be a research scientist. I wanted a real job that paid real money. So majored in chemical engineering and very quickly figured out that that didn't really mean what I thought it meant, that there was a whole lot of math and not a whole lot of chemistry in
Interesting.
chemical
Okay.
engineering. And as I worked to figure out what I wanted to do, um, I ended up in a research lab and I realized fairly quickly that the people who were having all the fun in these research labs were the MDs. And I was like, oh, okay, fine. When I was 10, I didn't want anything else besides to be Harvey Cushing and say, be a brain surgeon and save people from brain tumors and all the thing. But but I thought I couldn't do it because of how tired I was and how sickly I was. So I didn't even try until it really became obvious to me that that's all I wanted to do. That's really what I wanted to do. So I took the MCAT, I got into med school, and I got there, and it was hard. It was really hard. Oh my gosh. Hardest thing I think I've ever done. But I was getting through it until we got to the clinical rotations, the ones where you're getting up at 4 in the morning and you're working 24-hour shifts, and it's the hours are just insane, or and they were even more insane back then because there's now a thing that says that residents and med students can only work 80 hours a week.
Right. You have to have off time.
You have to have quote unquote off time. Of course, you have to study in your off time, but
Mhm.
never mind that. But I started breaking down. I started passing out. I was sick all the time. Um, I was just doing really, really poorly. And I was cold all the time. That was another kind of weird thing. It was always freezing. I'd lay down to go to sleep at night and be freezing. I'd lay there shivering and couldn't fall asleep because I was so cold. And I went to the health clinic and they said, oh, well, it sounds like, your tests are fine. Sounds like you're depressed. And they gave me antidepressants. And, they do something, but it didn't really, I don't know, it wasn't great. It didn't fix the problems. Um, and that kind of went on as I went on through the residency and towards the end of my residency. And I had weird things happen to me. Like I had a nerve damage that basically made my hand to where I couldn't do certain surgery, and then had to have surgery to release the nerve, the pressure on the nerve that was a dumb thing. And I had a frozen shoulder, which is an orthopedic thing that's basically inflammation of a joint to the point where it just turns into a solid mass of scar tissue, and has to be physically broken loose. So, but I had all these health things going on, lots of sinus infections and all. And despite all that, I made it through. I came back to Texas because I'd been out of state to do my training. Came back to Texas, started into practice, and things were better once I wasn't doing those crazy hours. But I was still cold and I was still tired and I was still sick a lot and all the things. And as I went through my practice, I would go to continuing ed seminars. And one day I sat down in a seminar and the speaker started rattling off this list of symptoms. And by the end of that list, I was sitting there with my jaw on the floor, shut your mouth. He was talking about me. I mean, every symptom he put up there was me in a nutshell, except I wasn't overweight. And he said, here, take this particular kind of thyroid medicine and you'll be better. And I'm like, oh, okay. That does he couldn't tell me why. He couldn't tell me why it happened. But he said, take this and you'll feel better. And he was right. And it
Hmm.
was miraculous for me. All of a sudden, I wasn't sick anymore. I had energy. I could fall asleep. I wasn't freezing all the time. All the things. It was just like boom. But I had been to many doctors and they'd said, your thyroid is fine.
Interesting. Okay.
And so I started looking for, okay, why is this happening? And by this time, I was out in private practice. I was seeing sinus patients, doing thyroid surgery, sinus surgery. So I had people like me coming through my practice. And once you see that list, and you can't unsee it, it's all of a sudden everybody that came through where the outer half of their eyebrows was missing, and everybody who came through whose face was puffy right under the eyes, and everybody who came through whose hair was thin on top, because that's another thing that happens is your hair gets so thin you can basically see your scalp. um, every time a person would come in and they'd be like, I'm sick, I'm here for my allergies. I'm like, okay, yes, we're going to do this thing, but can I check your thyroid too? And I
Mhm.
would check it in a particular way that I was taught, that I learned not from the first fellow, but from another guy, um, who is now still my mentor. Um, and I would put people on thyroid medicine and they would come back 6 months later and I'd be, are you ready for your sinus surgery? And they'd be like, oh, no, I don't need that. I'm good. I haven't had any more sinus problems. I just want some more of that thyroid medicine. And the more I learned about thyroid and the interaction with the other hormones and with stress and with blood sugar and with all the things, the more of that came into my practice, until I had a surgical practice where 60-70% of it was these people with thyroid and hormone problems. And it was just like, okay, this is, one, not sustainable. Two, I can't really do everything I would like to do for these people because I'm in an ENT practice.
Mhm.
It's like, you're not a legit hormone doctor, you're an ENT doctor. I'm like, well, okay, maybe this is trying to tell me something. So eventually I decided, you know what? Look, I'm just going to switch. I'm just going to start over. And what I don't have right now that I want is a name for what I went through. I'd
Hmm.
like a name for what I went through so that I can go out into the world and say, ladies, because it's 80-90% women. I can say, ladies,
Okay.
you're not crazy. You're not crazy. It's not all in your head. This is real, and here's what you do to fix it.
Okay.
That's what I want. I want a platform, a name recognition, legitimacy in the medical community, so I can go out and say, you people are not crazy. This
Mm-hmm.
is a real medical thing, and I know what to do to fix it. And then turn around and teach doctors not to gaslight these people, not to ignore these people, not to tell them it's all in their head. Now I'm getting all choked up. Um, because I went for 20 years like that,
Yeah.
20 years of thinking that I was lazy and that something was wrong with me in my head.
But that was
And
your body working against you.
and if I can stop that from happening to people, that's what I want to do with the rest of my
Well, you've almost answered the next question is what's holding you back from achieving it?
Well, I mean, there is a lot that's holding because what do I want? Right now, I have a solo business. It's just me. I mean, if the phone rings 80% of the time, I'm answering it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have a medical practice with a nice office with a this or with a that. I am shoestringing this thing,
Mm-hmm.
because and spending my spending my retirement to try to get it going, because I also have some mindset issues about money and about, oh, you can't spend if you're not seeing this many patients a month, you can't spend to hire an assistant, you can't spend to hire a publicist, you can't, I got all this you can't in my head. I don't know where it came from, but I got a lot of you can't in my head telling me how I shouldn't do things. Um, because what I want a team to help me with service delivery. I want a team to help me with marketing, with bookkeeping, with verticals. I want location independence so I can keep doing this as my husband retires and decides he wants to go all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so those are things I want. Um, but a lot of what's keeping me from getting it is mindset.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
It's
and women, we get in our own way. We're probably our
we
worst enemy, our worst critic.
we we do get in our own way a lot. And so I actually have a pretty large budget for coaching. Um,
As you
to put
receiving the coaching?
as me receiving the coaching, yes,
Okay.
as in put myself in the room with other people, mostly women, mostly doctors, who are doing what I want to do, who have the impact that I want to have, so that I can basically just go, oh, they can do it, so can I. That helps a lot. It helps a ton. Um, so that's, if I had to say something to other people, particularly women who have an idea, have a vision and want to make an impact, is put yourself in the room with other people who are doing already what you want to do or similar to what you want to do. Because it's really, really amazing
Oh, yes.
to,
Yeah, that's, you are your network or your net worth is the closest,
you know,
five
it's
closest people in your circle.
it's a cliche, but I think it's really honestly true.
Mm-hmm.
And then the second part of that is to convince yourself you belong in that room.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes that can be really hard.
That is the hardest part. You might be able to
That,
get there, but having the confidence to take up the space in that
yes.
room.
Well, yeah, because so this is something that, and you're going to think this is funny because this is especially hard for doctors because really doctors are, we have it beat into us from the minute we step into med school is you don't know enough, you're not good enough, I'm going to pimp you until you cry,
Oh, wow.
stay in your lane.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to work until you're exhausted, and that working while you're exhausted does something to your brain. It
Mm.
really convinces you that you're no good.
Oh, how
Or
awful.
I know. It's kind of a
And we
mess.
trust doctors to know enough
Everything.
to
Yeah,
make some really important decisions.
right. And it's funny because you go through the you don't know enough, you don't know enough, you're not good enough, and then the very last year they're like, okay, you're the king, you're God, go out and do it. You know everything now. And
But do
so
I?
many so what I see happen is a lot of women get out there and they're still in the I don't know enough, I can't do this. And
Mhm.
a lot of men go, oh, I'm God now. Okay, I don't have to learn anything else. I can go out there and everything that I know is everything worth knowing in the world. And it's funny because that makes doctors in particular really gullible and really susceptible to being, I don't know, taken advantage of
Hmm.
in fields where, because they're real smart, obviously, they wouldn't be
Yeah.
there, but they don't know what they don't know. And your industry in particular is a place where doctors go and they think, oh, how hard could it be? And they make the dumbest mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and we doctors are not taught business. That's another one
Mm-hmm.
that we make the dumbest mistakes. We make the dumbest mistakes because we literally don't know what we don't know.
Mm-hmm. And it's recognizing that. And then it's that filling your circle with the folks that,
With the
fill in the
people who
gaps of the knowledge that you don't have.
exactly. Instead of learning from all your own mistakes, you can take lessons from people who have been there, done that, and gone, oh, okay, well, that wasn't the way to do it. I guess I should do this other way. Um, but yeah, so much mental baggage,
Hmm.
so much mental baggage. But yeah,
I
so
hadn't heard that
mindset.
perspective from school because I have plenty of nurses in my circle and I know what their day to day looks like. And I thank them all the time for what they do because I could not do it.
Yeah, but yeah, and that's yeah, that's the problem with doctors is that we get into this, oh, I can do anything,
Mhm.
and not realizing that you literally don't know what you
Mhm.
do. And anyway, so yeah, I guess the other thing that's keeping me from getting where I want to go is my capacity for personal growth. It's limited. It takes me a while to learn these lessons, to learn that I need to come out on these podcasts and meet strangers, basically people I've never met before, and talk into the world about what I know and what I believe. And um, that for me, I mean, I count myself as a really introverted introvert. And to
Mm.
to learn to do this is one of the things that I have learned over the 2 years since I started doing this is
Mm.
how to come out and just talk
Yeah, to share
about
your story.
what I have learned in my life and how it can help other people.
I love it. Well, it sounds like every woman needs to hear your story. If we all have those same things, it's like, oh goodness, okay.
It feels like an awful lot of women do. And once again, it comes down to mindset. I mean, there's some physical things about it, but a lot of it's mindset because people don't realize that stress doesn't come from the circumstance that you're in unless it's physically like, okay, you were just in a car accident and you injured yourself. That's, that's stress. But a lot of our stress that we have comes from our thoughts about the circumstances. So for example, if I get up to give a talk in front of 50 people or 100 people or more people, and I think to myself, oh my gosh, I'm going to get up there and screw up. Well, the minute I think that, I have a feeling, and the feeling is anxiety, the feeling is fear. And it's the feeling that goes into your brain and says, okay, now brain, release a whole lot of cortisol because we got to survive. And the cortisol hormone turns around and does other things in your body that make you tired. They make you gain weight. They make you lose your thyroid function. They trigger your risk for diabetes. There's all kinds of bad things that cortisol does in your body that if it happens every day, is a really terrible thing. So so anyway, yeah, it's meant in your primitive brain to help you survive war and famine and tiger attacks. Excuse me.
But not the day to day.
But not what's my boss going to think of me? Not, oh my gosh, I don't know how I'm going to pay the bills because Mr. Jones didn't pay his invoice and he owes me and I can't make payroll this month because I have all this accounts receivable, or these kind of things that we say, the words we say they stress us out. But it's really how we think about those circumstances that releases the actual chemicals in our body that cause the effects of stress in our body. So crazy stuff.
So are classes in your future of teaching classes?
Oh, I actually have a website where every week I go on there and talk about these different topics. I am teaching. Yes, I have a course that I'm teaching right now about how to like how to manage your blood sugar. That's an interesting one. I try to go on a couple of podcasts a week to explain to various audiences, depending on the audience, how sciencey I get, how technical I get with it. So yeah, a lot of teaching in my future, because if it's just me treating people one by one, my impact is going to be very small. And if I can teach other people, other doctors, other nurses, other whoever, to recognize this syndrome. And like I said, what I really want is a name for it, and I don't have a great catchy name for it yet. People say chronic fatigue syndrome, and that's kind of old and tired, and it doesn't really.
Like chronic fatigue, it is old and tired.
But it doesn't fit. It doesn't. It does not encompass what's going on, and so it's not the right name for what this is. But anyway, I kind of lost my train of thought there. That's
okay. You need a good whiteboard session to figure out what to call it.
But yeah, if I can teach people to recognize it and to know what to do about it, then that has accomplished my goal.
I love it. Yeah. Continue to teach. I mean, that's what we do as well. So I love that. Yeah. And thank you so much for sharing your story. I look forward to looking at your class schedule. So when this does go live, we'll share whatever links we have available, so that if people are interested, they can go learn some more.
Sure.
And so look forward to you guys listening in the next episode. So we'll see you guys again soon.
Thanks for having me. This has been great fun.